This is the Moto Edge 30 Neo, and out of the new Moto Edge 30 series, this is the most affordable and compact one of the bunch. Compact mid-rangers aren't that common to find, and besides the size, what does this phone have to offer? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Moto Edge 30 Neo review. The Edge 30 Neo isn't a high-end phone like its siblings, but even so, there are some nice features to be had. A snazzy compact design, super fast charging, and a bright 120Hz OLED on the front. At just 155 grams, the phone is super lightweight and easy to wield, and the design here is pretty interesting, despite being made of plastic. You get a dual-tone accent on the camera bump, and a nice frosted coating on the back panel that lends some extra grip. The finish here is a unique purple hue called Very Peri. It's Pantone's 2022 color of the year. You even get a little plaque on the back just in case you forget. Motorola and Pantone have a new partnership, so we should see some interesting colors on future Moto phones. Another cool feature of the Edge 30 Neo is an LED ring around the camera island. It acts as a notification light and charging indicator. The phone also has ingress protection against dust and light splashes. On the front of the Edge 30 Neo is a 6.28-inch P-OLED display, with a 1080p resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. The fast refresh rate helps the UI feel quite snappy and smooth when swiping around. And you can have it fixed at 120Hz or adaptive, where it will dial down to save energy when you stop interacting with it. We were impressed with the max brightness of the display. It's flagship grade. We achieved a maximum of 490 nits with the manual slider, and this can boost to 1000 nits in auto mode when in bright sun. The panel is contrasty and sharp, and the color accuracy is also great here. What's missing is HDR support, but still the Edge 30 Neo has a pretty nice display for the price. And under the display sits the fingerprint reader for biometrics. It's fast and responsive, though its placement takes some getting used to. For audio, the Edge 30 Neo has a pair of stereo speakers, one at the bottom and the other that doubles as the earpiece. They're quite balanced and have good overall loudness. The quality is decent too, with pretty clean vocals and some bass. You get the choice of 128 or 256 gigs of storage on the Moto Edge 30 Neo, but that's not expandable through microSD. And the interface of the phone is the same as what you'd find on other recent Moto phones. A clean and very stock-feeling Android 12 UI, with just a few Moto features sprinkled in. The Moto features are organized conveniently into the Moto app. These include personalizations, through which you customize the appearance of the UI. There are quite a few custom gestures and shortcuts you can use if you want to. The peak display is something like an always-on display, showing you time and notifications, but it only lights up when you tap or lift the phone. There's support for Moto's Ready For too, a feature that allows you to connect the phone to other devices like a TV or monitor, and even a mouse and keyboard. One of the major differences you'll find on the Neo model compared to the higher-end ones is the chipset. Here you get a Snapdragon 695 5G, which is far from flagship grade, and actually most competitors, even at this price point, are able to earn higher benchmark scores. Still, while the chipset performance is underwhelming in comparison, it's solid enough for a mid-ranger, and you get 5G connectivity as well. This chipset is also very frugal, so even with a 4000 mAh battery life here is actually pretty good considering the compact size. The Edge 30 Neo was able to earn an endurance rating of 104 hours in our proprietary tests. What's more impressive though is the charging speed. With a bundled 68-watt fast charger, the Edge 30 Neo was able to charge from 0 to 92% in half an hour. And you also get support for wireless charging on board. Finally, we have the cameras. On the back of the Edge 30 Neo is a dual camera setup, consisting of a 64-megapixel main cam with OIS and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide cam which has autofocus. During the day, the main camera delivers consistently good photos with great sharpness and plenty of fine detail. Colors are punchy and dynamic range is pretty good, while the photos remain nice and contrasty. Portrait shots are pretty nice if you have enough light. There's plenty of detail and sharpness, and the colors look good. The edge detection does a decent job too. At 13 megapixels, the ultra-wide cam has an advantage resolution-wise over most competitors. There's a very good level of detail, good contrast and color saturation, and above average sharpness, except for the corners, where we can even see lots of purple fringing. The dynamic range is a bit more limited than the main cam, and you often end up with dark shadows too. Since the ultrawide has autofocus, you can make close-up macro shots. These aren't amazing, but they're much better than what you'd get from a dedicated 2-megapixel macro cam. In low light conditions, the main camera's nighttime performance is quite decent. The photos come out well exposed and with good color saturation. Thanks to HDR, highlights are well preserved too. Zooming in, however, reveals that there's not much fine detail, and shadows are often quite dark. With night mode turned on, the results are a mixed bag. The shadows are brightened up, and you get much better sharpness and rendition of fine detail. However, the colors change to quite unnatural hues, and even appear washed out. The ultra-wide struggles to deliver usable photos at night. The images are quite colorful and have nice exposure, but only as long as you view them on the phone's screen. Any sort of magnification reveals that they are in fact really soft and fine detail is smeared. There's no night mode available for the ultra-wide cam either. Selfies from the 32-megapixel front-facing cam come out at 8 megapixels, and they're colorful, with decent sharpness and dynamic range. There's not a ton of fine detail though. The Edge 30 Neo's chipset doesn't have the capability for 4K video recording, so videos from the main cam are limited to 1080p. The videos are colorful and contrasty, but dynamic range is not the best, with some clipped shadows and highlights. The ultra-wide camera also does 1080p videos, and produces about the same level of video quality, with nice and punchy colors and a decent level of sharpness. The contrast is even higher here, which hurts the dynamic range a bit more, but these videos are still good coming from an ultra-wide cam. So that's the Moto Edge 30 Neo. The light and compact form factor and attractive design are what sets this phone apart, as well as the bright OLED display and super fast charging. The stereo speakers and a decent battery life round off a pretty nice compact smartphone. Where it falls behind competitors in its price range though is with its chipset, and that directly affects the camera performance, both with the night mode processing speed and the lack of 4K video. Still, even with that considered, the Edge 30 Neo is a value-packed mid-ranger that's worth recommending if you're looking for a compact phone. Thanks for watching guys, and see you on the next one.